This is the 2022 Toyota Tacoma TRD PRO in electric lime green. We're going to check out all the features and then take it off-road. Right now on Driving Sports TV. Toyota is known for embellishing their top trims with special unique colors. This one definitely stands out. It's called Electric Lime Green, and it is one way of saying, hey, this Tacoma TRD Pro is something special. Even though Toyota could have just phoned in the 2022 TRD Pro, they actually made a number of improvements that make this a better truck.
Ride height has been increased by a ½ inch in the back and 1.5 inches in the front. This makes the approach angle a whopping 36.4 degrees. It also gets forged upper control arms for strength and extra travel, plus hood graphics to reduce glare.
Prices you see it here, $50,733 US, including destination. Under the hood is a 3.5-liter V6 that puts out 278 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque. It is connected to a part-time four-wheel drive system, and it gets 18 miles to the gallon in town and 21 on the highway. The included tires on the TRD Pro are the Goodyear Wrangler Territory All-Terrains. Now these are an all-terrain tire with Kevlar sidewalls. They are wrapped around a 16-inch alloy wheel that I think looks amazing. However, these are not peak rated, so if we do happen to hit some snow today, they're not going to be ideal. Standing here, I can also see just the amazing changes that they've done to this upper control arm. I can't wait to take this thing off-road. In the back, we get a soft drop tailgate.
Like most off-road focused trucks, the only bed size here is a 5-foot short bed. This can handle up to 1,155 pounds of payload, which is about equal to a ½ cubic yard of gardening soil.
With about 1,100 pounds of dirt in the trunk, the TRD Pro actually does fine. I mean, there's a little bit of sag, but I'm not really feeling it. I mean, if you want to compare this versus the 1,000 pounds we put in the back of the Maverick, yeah, it's like no comparison. Now, granted, that Maverick we did it in was a front-wheel drive EcoBoost, but for stuff like this, leaf springs are still better.
In the back, it also has some nice features, including AC power, which is rated at 400 watts.
There are rails, but no attachments. I do get bed lights, and this is a composite bed with a rubber liner. Towing capacity, 6,400 pounds. Okay, so this is a double cab. It is not a crew max. My knees are right into the driver's seat. I'm 6'1", legs torso proportionate, and this is where I would be sitting. It's no fun back here. I do get cup holders, but I get nothing else back here. I don't even get a full-down armrest. Yeah, this is basically for kids back here. Okay, let's climb on up. And you do have to climb up into a Tacoma. Right, here we go. Now this interior does look very familiar. I mean, Toyota's it's the basic same design they've had for over a decade now. Let's go ahead and power it up. Here. Obviously, this is the TRD Pro version, which is the most extreme and most expensive version of the Tacoma you can buy. You get embroidered headrests, you get a TRD logo on the transmission knob here, which actually is pretty cool. And the wheel is wrapped in a really nice leather or pleather. Anyway, it's really nice. I do get a sunroof, not a very big one. And yeah, that's basically it. I mean, you have to keep in mind that Tacoma is a pretty straightforward vehicle. This is for going off-road. It's for having adventures. It's not for having a luxury interior. Now, in terms of interior, they do have some nice amenities here. I mean, the nav system is an old style by modern standards, but it does work. You have navigation that is pretty basic. I've covered this so many times in other reviews. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it does allow for breadcrumbs, and it also allows you to go off-grid. You don't have to have an always connected signal, which is actually quite good for a vehicle like this. In terms of audio, it supports both XM and terrestrial stations, and then if you plug in a iPhone or an Android device, you get Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. No wireless version available. You do, however, get a wireless charging pad right down here, so you can always charge your device if you just want to be on Bluetooth, which is nice. There is a surround view camera system, which is great. And the best thing about the surround view camera system is that when we go off-road, we get a trail cam. So let me go ahead and switch into 4 low, put it into neutral. With this view, I can see clearance of my side wheels. This is a forward-facing camera view. And then I also get tracks for what's coming up ahead. The trail cam is a great addition because, of course, this is the most extreme off-roader from Toyota, so it's great to have that functionality. And beyond just cameras, this also, of course, comes with the multi-terrain select system and crawl control, 2 features that we will try out a little bit later in this video. Now let's look at some of the amenities here. Both of the front seats have 3 stages of heat. I also have power adjustments. Only on the driver's side though. Passenger side still has manual crank and pulls. I do get dual zone climate, mirror heaters. I also have blind spot warning, collision mitigation, and a bunch of other things. The gauge cluster is pretty straightforward. It's Toyota's old style digital display in the middle, and then we have a tach on the left and a speedo on the right. That covers all the basic features. Now it's time to head out and find some adventure that is worthy of the TRD Pro. And on to the freeway. Sounds good. In spite of the fact that this is a 3.5 liter V6, you would think that it would be quick, but it's not. I mean, if you want to think about it, it doesn't have much more horsepower than my Ford Maverick. On the freeway, well, this isn't exactly where the Tacoma TRD Pro excels, because the soft suspension combined with the body on frame and the leaf springs in the back makes for kind of a wandery driving experience. This is, honestly, if you're going to be driving all the time or commuting and you're going to be doing long distances on freeways with no real serious off-road, this isn't the truck for you. It just isn't. Now, it's not to say that this doesn't have some nice amenities. We do have adaptive cruise control here. I just set it and forget it. And then basically I can set my pace to be greater than the vehicle in front of me, and it will keep a gap between the two of us. And if he puts on his brakes, it'll slow me down accordingly. That said, there is no lane tracing. There is lane detection. It's pretty rudimentary though. As I'm going around this corner, you will see that it just merely notifies me that I have left the lane. It doesn't actually do any intervention. This is a very basic system, and you kind of would expect that. I mean, this is a truck. This is a truck for people who like trucks and all that that encompasses. They don't necessarily want lane tracing or semi-autonomous features, and I think that's kind of okay. However, some people want a little bit more, especially when you're spending 50 grand on a truck, and that's before additional dealer markups, which, I mean, I hate to say it, they are a thing, especially for anything with a TRD Pro badge. In spite of the fact that, you know, the electronics are a little out of date, it doesn't have any semi-autonomous stuff, the head unit is the main reason I have trouble recommending this truck to a lot of people is really the seating position. This is built for smaller people. The floorboard is really high, so like my knees are above my waist, which is unusual. I have very little headroom up here. There's very little room for my head to move at all. And I can't get the wheel and the seat to be in a position that I like. I feel like to make room for my legs, and I'm stretching all the way out for the wheel. I mean, there's just, I'll put up with it. And I still like driving this in extreme conditions, but just the getting there, it's not as nice as it could be. And if I was doing interstate travel on this, the seating position would be an even bigger issue. But clearly, people don't buy this for that reason. They buy it because this is the most extreme version of the Tacoma you can buy. It is a legend. The reason why it's earned that status is because of all of its off-road modes. You have MTS, you have crawl control, you have a rear locker. This truck is a culmination of years of development and fine-tuning to the point where it is the best version of the Tacoma we've ever had. That said, it still has issues. It has seating position issues. It has technology issues. And those will all be rectified very shortly when a new version of this truck comes out, which is due anytime now. We might see hints of it end of this year, early next year. Will it be a 2023 or 2024? Only Toyota knows. But it's a big deal for them. So they're definitely not gonna, tip their hat to any rumors. We're just going to have to see what happens when they actually announce it. But today we have this truck. The suspension is very soft here. There's a lot of roll in the body, like a lot of roll in the body. And it wanders a lot, which isn't, something that you really want to do. You're constantly correcting the wheel as you're driving down the road. Now, if you've driven trucks most of your life, you won't even notice that. But like when you get into the Maverick or any car or any SUV for that matter, that is a unibody and modern, and you will notice that they track smooth and straight, and you don't have to make adjustments all the time. And really, if you're doing interstate travel, that can make a big difference. All Toyota Tacomas are a part-time four-wheel drive system. That means that they are normally rear-wheel drive until you engage the transfer case, which then switches it to a straight 50-50 split front to back. That means that you can't actually drive this every day on dry pavement in four-wheel drive mode. You will damage the powertrain if you do, because it causes too much tension in the transfer case. So what you want to do is you want to drive every day in rear-wheel drive and only engage to four-wheel drive when things get slippery. Then if things get really complicated and you need to multiply the torque of the V6, then you can switch it into 4 low. Once you're in 4 low, you then can tap all of the off-road modes, including the multi-terrain select and crawl control systems, which we'll get into a little bit later when we head out to our test hill. While we're here, let's try out a 0 to 60. I'm just going to keep it in drive. There's no drive modes, so pretty straightforward, right? 3, 2, 1, and go. A little slow off the line. 30, 40, 50, and 60. 7.82 seconds. That's pretty slow. Our Ford Maverick is more than a second faster than this is on 0 to 60. Just throwing it out there, no shade. I think we firmly established that streets are not what this truck is all about. So now we're going to take it to our test hill to see how well this four-wheel drive system can respond in really tricky situations. Of course, with the TRD Pro, you don't need to slow down when the road gets tough. You just power through it. Whoosh. Whoa. So the property is clearly very muddy today. We have some drainage issues that we're still working through, and hey, good news. Actually, I just closed on the property next door, so our test facility is now 11 acres. Now I just need to build some roads on it. Looking at the course here, lots of mud, and even in areas where it looks dry, right below the surface, it's just like liquid. I'm gonna have to be extra careful today because I don't have mud terrain tires. These are all terrains, and there is a big difference. The biggest issue with mud terrains is they have very big lugs and lots of negative space between the lugs. That allows mud to be freed so that you have grip. These are all terrains. They're going to load up, and in some of the exterior shots you will notice that the tires are going to basically look like slicks, and that is exactly how they're going to drive because they're going to load up. Now, to avoid that, I'm going to actually try to spin my tires a little bit more than one might normally think makes sense. But the reason for that is it helps free the lugs. It helps get mud out of those lugs, which gives me more grip. So we're gonna do the Sidewinder first here. Let's switch this into 4 low. Now for that, I do have to switch it into neutral. And the reason I did that is because I can't use MTS and crawl without it being in low range. I also have a rear locking diff if I need that. I also get a trail cam which shows me the front and the side tires so I can see what's coming up. So I'm watching the camera here. I want to make sure I don't go over the edge because this is a fairly narrow road. So I'm just creeping along. Now I have not driven down this since it became fully saturated with water. So there is a concern regarding sinking and sliding. So I'm just gonna try to keep it real easy. And then there's a puddle at the bottom that I'm gonna try to splash through because I don't wanna have to sit in it. Again, another opportunity to get stuck. Now this is where having the really good approach angle is helpful. Try to clear those lugs out with some wheel spin. I can see we're gonna need some more advanced help here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my rear locker, which should distribute power evenly between the left and right tires, moving them as one. Roll forward a little bit and then it should kick in. Okay, now I'm gonna climb over some logs. So we're giving traction to the wheel on the left with the logs and a couple rocks. The right is in mud, and this should just crawl over no problem because it's a TRD Pro. Yeah, no problem. Okay, now for the tricky stuff. The surface is really loose. Now it's not too wet, but it could be problematic. So basically, I'm just gonna gun it in one try. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on MTS. And we're gonna switch MTS to mud and sand. Let's do mud and sand because we want wheel spin because I need to free up the lugs on these all-terrain tires so they can do work. So we got it rear locked. We have MTS on and we should be able to just get right up. Get right up. Come on, you got this. You got this. Yeah. Ha! Makes it look easy. Whew. Nice. Now we just need to get to the top.
Watching that climb in slow motion, keep your eyes on the front wheels. With the MTS system, the Tacoma varies torque side to side using individual wheel brakes, while that rear differential is locked, which keeps equal torque to the back wheels throughout the climb.
Now the final climb. Now this is actually harder than all those other things we just did because it's very steep and slippery. It's wet up here. It wasn't really that wet right there. So here we go. Drive. Gonna keep MTS in mud and sand. Now what MTS does is it, on top of the 50-50 lock that we get with a transfer case, and on top of the locking rear diff, it'll use wheel braking to shift power around the vehicle. You just saw it on that last climb. And it's gonna be crucial for this next climb because we don't have a front locker here and it emulates a front locker. Drive, here we go. Let's send it. Got to keep momentum up the whole thing. Really steep, really steep, really steep. Come on, you got it. Yes! I am going to go ahead and try the Rattler, which is super swampy to get into it. We had the LX600 out here, and in spite of the LX600 having just a simply spectacular four-wheel drive system, it got bogged down because it just had all-season tires. Now these being all-terrains gives us a better chance. We also have more ground clearance here and a thicker sidewall. So I'm not airing down because this is how the cars are handed to us. I really only air down if there's an absolute need, and so far we have not established that need in this video. So we're gonna use crawl control, and I'm gonna use it on speed 3. Now this is like, what's a good example? It's kind of like a cruise control for off-road, and it's very aggressive at shifting power around. You'll hear that both inside and outside of the cabin. Take my foot off the brake, let the car do the driving, and we just move forward. I'm gonna go ahead and crank my speed up to maximum so we can keep the wheels spinning. And up and over. Okay, nice. This truck just makes everything easy, and that is the point of the TRD Pro. This is meant to blast through roads like this. Couple reasons. First off, it has all terrains with Kevlar reinforced sidewalls, so I don't really have to worry about punctures so much. I also have a full-size spare should I need it. Now I'm going to switch it to MTS. We're going to do rock, which is the most extreme, and the reason I'm on rock is I want little wheel spin. I don't want to be flinging rocks everywhere. So let's see what we can do with 4-low rear locker rock on MTS. This is the most extreme form of MTS. So on this one, because I have underbody protection, those Kevlar sidewalls, and those Fox shocks, I could do this all day. Woo! Now I'm going to switch it to mud and sand because now I want wheel spin to free up those lugs so they can grip. Keeping that rear diff locked, and here we go. Gotta keep speed, gotta keep speed. And then cut here. And up we go, making it look easy.
When the going gets tough, the 2022 Toyota Tacoma TRD PRO is still an excellent choice in midsize pickups. With 9.4 inches of overall ground clearance, a factory bash plate, and the excellent MTS and crawl control systems combined with the rear locker, this is one truck that will get you pretty much anywhere. In terms of competition, the Chevrolet Colorado ZR2 Bison is a solid choice for about the same money. Unlike the Toyota, the Colorado is available with both front and rear lockers, but it also has easily accessible recovery hooks on the front, which is a requirement for many buyers. If you want similar features to the Tacoma, but also want to save some money, the Ford Ranger XLT Tremor is a good pick. Built on the mid-grade Ranger trim, this rig features underbody protection and a rear locker along with Ford's off-road trail control system. In our testing, we find the Toyota software off-road systems to be more effective. Also, the Fox shocks on the Tacoma give the Toyota an edge in high-speed off-road situations. But for most people, the Ranger packs in some nice amenities with solid off-road skills. The Ford Tremor is just a little bit more street.
If you're wondering why the Tacoma TRD PRO could get through the really tricky stuff today, yet the very expensive Lexus LX600 couldn't, it really comes down to the approach angles and underbody armor. This one has such a good approach angle, I wasn't worried about bashing the nose and ripping it off. The Lexus, because that nose hangs so low and all the sensitive bits are a little bit exposed, it has some underbody protection, but not really enough to take a boulder in the jaw. That means that I have to be very cautious and tiptoe, which got us stuck. With the TRD PRO, you can maintain momentum all the way through. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at the 2022 Toyota Tacoma TRD PRO with its electric green color scheme, which is nuts. I get so many compliments on this thing. Please give us a like, share our videos. We make them for you, and I hope you enjoy them.